Hi there, my name is Peter.
And I'm Tasche.
And we're the authors of
A children's book series called
Lil Peter.
Today we'd like to read to you
From our first book called
Get Up, Little Peter.
Get Up.
We're going to have some help with narration from
My brother Marty.
That's me.
Shall we get started?
Let's.
Ring, 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 sounded the old-fashioned alarm clock. Little Peter reached over and tapped off the alarm.
I wonder who set my alarm on the first day of summer break,
He thought. Little Peter pulled the covers over his head to get more sleep. Then a familiar face popped in and said,
Get up, Little Peter. Get up.
It was Grandpa! He spent summers with Little Peter and his family. Grandpa must have been the one who set the alarm. Little Peter stretched and got out of bed. He shuffled downstairs to the aroma of sizzling bacon and French toast. Yum! Grandpa watched Little Peter while his parents worked. It had always been just Grandpa for as long as Little Peter could remember, for his grandma had died before he was born.
Breakfast is ready.
Grandpa said.
Grab a chair and get up, Little Peter. Get up. Let's eat before it gets cold.
Grandpa was a good friend to Little Peter, but a different kind of friend. He didn't like computers or video games.
No way!
He wanted to build things and play games. Little Peter didn't like games because he couldn't beat Grandpa. Every time Grandpa won, Little Peter felt frustrated. After he won yet another game, Grandpa saw the defeated look on Little Peter's face and said,
There's more to life than winning. Winning is easy, but losing builds character. Right now you feel down. So learn from your losses. When you learn how to lose, you'll figure out how to win. Lift your head up and tell your spirit to get up, Little Peter. Get up.
One afternoon while they played hide and seek, it was Grandpa's turn to count. Little Peter ran to the old apple tree filled with leaves.
He'll never find me up here.
Little Peter said to himself as he climbed up the tree. He found a good branch to sit on, determined to win this one. It didn't take long before Little Peter heard Grandpa's voice.
Oh, where could Little Peter be?
Little Peter put his hand over his mouth as he giggled, trying not to make a sound. He leaned forward to get a better view at Grandpa, looking in funny places. Suddenly, there was a snap, a crackle, and then a very loud pop! And Little Peter crashed through the tree branches and landed on the ground below.
Are you hurt?
Grandpa asked, helping Little Peter get the leaves out of his hair.
I don't think so.
Little Peter said.
That wasn't a very well thought out hiding spot, was it?
Grandpa said with a smirk.
I guess not.
Little Peter said. Grandpa reached his hand out to Little Peter and said,
Get up, Little Peter. Get up. It's lunchtime.
Grandpa encouraged Little Peter to get out of the house and do things with his hands in mind. One day, he helped Little Peter build a ramp so he could jump over things with his bike. It wasn't a big ramp, but it was a lot of fun to make. When they finished making the ramp, Grandpa lined up cans for Little Peter to jump over. He was Little Peter's biggest fan. He cheered him on every time Little Peter cleared the cans, setting a new world record. However, not every jump was a record-breaking one. One time, Lil Peter didn't gain enough speed to clear the last can. His bike's back tire landed on the top of the can, and Lil Peter lost balance and crashed into the grassy yard. The crash scared and injured Lil Peter. Not badly, but it hurt enough to bring tears to his eyes. Grandpa walked over and scanned Lil Peter for injuries.
I don't see any cuts or broken bones. I think you suffer more from that failed jump than the crash.
This made Lil Peter mad. He was hurt, and Grandpa wasn't being very sympathetic.
Remember, failing is good.
Grandpa reminded him.
Good? How can it be good when I crashed?
Lil Peter said, wiping his tears away. Grandpa smiled and said,
Failing is good. It means you tried. You succeeded in finding a way not to do something. It means you're one step closer to figuring it out. Since you're closer to achieving your goal, shouldn't you get back up on your bike? Get up, Little Peter. Get up.
Summer went by fast, and Grandpa and Little Peter had many adventures together. Lil Peter failed more times than he could count, and each time he failed, Grandpa smiled and said,
"Get up, Little Peter, get up."
When Grandpa had to go home, Lil Peter was not happy. He sat on the porch and buried his head in his hands. He couldn't bear to watch Grandpa leave. As the tears formed, he felt a hand on his head and a familiar voice say,
"Get up, Little Peter, get up."
Lil Peter lifted his head and wiped his eyes. In as strong a voice as he could muster, he said,
Grandpa, you have been saying that to me all summer. It used to make me mad, but now it makes me sad. Why do you always say, "Get up, Little Peter, get up"?
Grandpa smiled and said,
"There will be a day when I won't be there for you when you fall, when you lose, when you make poor choices, or when you hurt inside. When those times happen, I want you to hear my voice reminding you to get up. If there's one thing I want you to never forget, it is this. The key to having a successful life is to get up, Little Peter. Get up one more time than you were knocked down. Don't you ever forget that, Little Peter."
Just then, Little Peter thought about every time Grandpa had said, "Get up, Little Peter, get up." The true meaning of his words rang clear. Grandpa's summer-long lessons ran through Lil Peter's mind. Then Grandpa said it one more time.
"Get up, Little Peter, get up, and give your grandpa a hug."
Lil Peter jumped up, wrapped his arms around his grandpa, and said,
This was the best summer ever. I love you, Grandpa.
Get Up, Little Peter, Get Up by Peter Valdez and Tasche Laine, illustrated by May Leonard from Sky Blue Press. Lil Peter read today by Tasche Laine. Grandpa was read by Peter Valdez III, and the narrator was read by Marty Valdez.
And that's our story.
We hope you enjoyed it.
Look for more Little Peter adventures.
Wherever books are sold.
Bye for now.
Bye-bye. All right, that's a wrap.